Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. This is Ben Yarbourgh with Calyptix Security, and
Chris Pelone. How you doing, folks?
we're really excited to get you all together today to talk about what we've been working on and what we have in store for 2022. Despite all the many challenges that we're all facing, our team has been working extremely hard. And we're going to be bringing you some really exciting things, some of which you guys know about, and some may be a little new. But aligned with our purpose to help secure and defend small businesses in the United States and Canada, we think the time is now, and look to continue to accelerate our momentum with our innovation and our friendships and collaboration to drive security for small business, to make it powerful, easy, secure, and Chris always tells me affordable, right?
Yeah, that's always important.
We think that value is a huge thing. And as you look what we're building, I want you to ask yourselves, don't look at the price, look at the value, and compare that to the challenges of putting together what we've put together for our partners, and continue to give us feedback so we can improve on it. So we're going to revisit our purpose a little bit at Calyptix and what we've done, where we're going, where we've been. We're going to hit the partner programs and services. We're going to talk a little about the introduction of professional services from Calyptix and how that fits in like a three-legged stool with our relationship with our partners and customers. Of course, we're going to talk about 2022 pricing. Can't really not address the challenges that we're all facing, and want to provide you the transparency and heads up that we see coming and how we're going to handle it here. We've got a couple of technical program changes we want to highlight, and then lastly, hit some of the roadmap development. Getting a little bit more aggressive on laying out some roadmap commitment than we have in the past. Hope you can appreciate that. It makes our team nervous, but it's what we're working on, so we figure we might as well let you know.
Well, to the roadmap, it's feedback from all of you, all the partners, and it's really helpful when you do let us know what you see that we need to add to our current lineup and the purpose for it.
Yep, and I think we've done that in the past. We'll continue to do it, and that does make for a juggle in our roadmap, but we think that responsiveness and nimbleness is what makes us attractive to so many small business partners. So I want to revisit where we all started. So this is Lawrence's PhD thesis and patent. It's about building a distributed information security system using shared intelligence. You might see that little circle up in the middle there called the collective. The concept was to create nodes that were able to have insights into what's going on, whether or not it's on a host, a firewall, or a server, or other system, and be able to share that and integrate across a variety of different things. And he contemplated he helped design this in 2002, got his PhD in 2006, and we've been working on it ever since. And I can't say that the theory and the implementation are exactly the same, but the results and that purpose are the same. And that's what matters, because translating theory to practice in reality is really messy. And that's what we've been about. And we've had a lot of people along the way, many of which are on this call and have continued to participate with us as partners and customers and really advocates. And what's been interesting to me, Chris, is that we've had our head down building a platform to do what Lawrence envisioned. And then at a higher level, at the government level, whether or not it's the ICE Acts or the executive orders or the protocols for sharing information or the statutes that have come along to help limit liability, they're all this momentum and noise about doing it, but none of that's about actually doing it. It's all about what we should do.
Yep.
And so we built a little box, guys, that does what needs to be done. And it collects information, it shares it, and it uses it to defend your clients effectively and efficiently. And it's going to provide a platform for you guys to grow and accelerate your businesses and protect your clients. As we go down this path, we have to be extremely intentional. What we do, and more importantly, what we don't do, and why we do it or don't do it. To that end, we commit to be transparent with you to what we're doing and what we can't do, so you guys can make good decisions to continue to protect your clients and build your businesses as you need to, and we respect that. And lastly, we intend to be accountable to each other internally, accountable to you guys as partners, and accountable to end customers, accountable to our purpose. I think it's important that as we look at that concept of accountability, that's part of the three-legged stool. We have to expect to be accountable to each other, but also our end customers. Got word not too long ago that we had an end customer. We detected a breach at a small business site with Community Shield data. They fired that customer because they would not respond. They would not be accountable for maintaining safe and secure systems. And the exposure they were creating and the cost that they were imposing on that partner were not okay. So I think accountability goes all the way around the circle. And it's important, if we're going to drive the challenge harder to the bad guys, that we use that accountability to raise the bar. With that, we've introduced Community Shield. We're extremely excited about it. Most of you guys do know what it is, and we believe this is the beginning to a brave new era. Again, we're here to help. We want to support you and your clients and enable you to be the best you can be. Ultimately, make it harder for the bad guys.
Make it harder. They say that if you make it harder, they'll go find easier, low-hanging fruit.
That's right.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
Cybersecurity is really about economics. How much effort do I have to expend to extract my objective? And based on the value of the objective, the goal here is to make it extremely difficult. So we're going to go over, in terms of the partner program, 3 basic frameworks. 2 that you're very familiar with, and the third is new in 2022. We've got our purchase programs, we've got our models, and now we're bringing in subscription plans. That's a change for us, and we've thought long and hard about how we do it. But we think it's important to do this to reflect our cost, our investment, to ensure that we can grow healthily and sustainably, but in a sustainable manner. And so I hope you'll trust with me that our approach with our monthly program and our annual program was designed to fit our partner's business, that we'll take that same approach in everything else we do. We have a monthly program. We've allowed our partners to pay us monthly, to not take the risk of big CapEx, to be able to scale their expenses or opportunities grow, to be able to downsize as needed, to be able to move systems around. And we introduced that over 10 years ago. We were very early with the concept of being a service provider. And if you think about it, it goes back to our purpose. What we're building is not a firewall, it's a security system. The second is the models. Many of you may have heard that we do have new hardware models, and we're excited to introduce new models that will power the next many years of what we're building. We'll continue to support the legacy models, but if you look at the new models, they're substantially beefed up in terms of processing power, memory, speed, and network ports. Our 1800 is a screaming value. That's a unit that we have a decent amount of them in, but I'm not sure we'll ever be able to get it in at the price that we have them now. The vendor made them for somebody else. We were able to purchase them a little bit ago, so they got to sell them twice, and so it was a good deal for them and a great deal for us as well. We think a great deal for you guys.
It's our first desktop model that can handle fiber too.
Right, and those are optional plugins that you guys can put in. I think they're not that expensive, but you want to make sure if you use an SFP that you match what's on your switch, so you get good speed there. But that's a multi-gig capability. And our understanding internally is that while we've only rated it to 900 gig because that's the limit of the NICs on it, it'll go quite a bit higher.
Yep.
In terms of the older models, it is important to note that the 800R and the 800 they're the least expensive, and in today's market, they're the hardest to get. And that's largely attributable to the chip shortage, the shipping, and the preference of the hardware manufacturers to sell more expensive products.
Yeah, it's become a very limited item. In fact, I think the partners should look at, if they're going to order the low-end models, to give themselves a 2-week lead time now, as opposed to we can ship it the same day, which has been pretty much how we've operated for the last 10 years. But with the 2 lower models, we may be able to ship same day, but I would give yourself at least 2 weeks, so that if you get caught up in us waiting to get some more to be able to turn around, then you have enough time.
I think it's important to note that, with the hardware system scarcity, whether it's trucks, computers, laptops, or other systems, I wrote a blog article. Our team helped me put it together on different strategies to deal with this environment. And if you plan ahead, you can, purchase effectively and efficiently. If you get caught last minute, you probably have to pay up and buy a bigger pickup truck than you wanted. I think my brother went to buy a truck, and the only thing was available was a King Ranch or Special Limited. I mean, it's, if you want a stripped down model, you'll be waiting a while. But we do have orders in for the 800 new. We'll continue to refurbish those, and we are putting more memory in those as we refurbish them. So they are, and we're refurbishing them with SSDs. So they are, it's a price point that is very important for us to maintain. And so we're doing our everything we can to do that.
So to Ben's point, anything that's coming out of here now has got a SSD drive in it. We've completely stopped using the spinners. And so we'll find that we're seeing that to be a way to improve our reliability even better.
Yep. So let's jump to the big new topic, subscription plan. And this is a really touchy one because I'm sure it introduces multiple pricing concerns, challenges. And but first, before we get into what we've done, I want to kind of revisit the different things that we're bringing to you. Community Shield. Community Shield is real-time threat data harvested from our own sites, checked for false positives, curated, distributed, and put in an actionable manner to protect inbound and outbound attacks. It's stopping stuff. It's now, neighborhood of 20,000 IP addresses and growing. It does go up and down. We're continuing to refine how we curate and grow the list. We can grow the list pretty significantly. Each list can be 500,000 IP addresses or CIDRs, and we have quite a number of lists that we can use. But that notwithstanding, we don't want to be foolhardy and just blow out the IP list and constrain the resources. So we're trying to be judicious. We've also introduced external threat feeds that have been very effective, especially for detecting outbound traffic. We're adding this year dynamic DNS. So for those of you that have dynamic IPs, we will maintain a dynamic DNS for you. That can help with VPN and the GUI and other things like that. We have over the years, in order to build the Community Shield, we have implemented, as many of you know, a networking event logging system. We maintain that system for you. It's what drives the Community Shield. So we're bringing that to you. And then we're bringing Connection Monitor. I'll talk a little bit about that, and Gatekeeper. That notwithstanding, we've still always got our software subscription, which is your comprehensive license for functionality on the system. Your automatic updates, which includes patching, security updates, bug fixes, and improvements. No effort on your part. Whenever anybody calls us and says, hey, some scanner is needing this to be changed, we make that change and we roll it out. And we're typically way ahead. Take, for instance, the migration from SSL 3.0 to TLS 1.0 to 1.1 and the like. We typically are pretty far ahead of most major vendors out there.
And for anyone who's on the service, you've gotten the GUI updates for years. some of you have had boxes that have been updated 10 or 12 times and without any additional fee other than the subscription itself. And we will continue to do that as we move forward.
I think it's noted that when we started and we told people we updated the firewall, many were puzzled by that in 2007, that a firewall didn't need to be updated, doesn't need to be patched or maintained. The reality of the day is internet exposed system of any type must be maintained and updated. The government's now actually calling for a software bill of lading or bill of sale, where every itemized component of a package has to be specified so that they can assure that it's updated and maintained. So there's a lot more coming there, and the cost and effort to do that is quite significant. And so that's just sort of revisit that core service that we do. And then lastly here is our live support, and that's led by Dwayne and Warren and backed up by the DevOps guys. And to say we're proud of our team in that front is an understatement. We really value and appreciate the folks we work with, our partners, and we'll go the extra mile and continue to do that. And that's why we're still here some 15 years later after starting off on a theory.
I can tell you, from being in the sales side of this for the last 11 years, I couldn't have made it any of that time without their help. And it certainly is a difference maker.
So there's some detail in here about what these things are. I'm going to kind of jump in. I think most of us know, again, about the Community Shield. This is a snapshot out of a single unit that shows blocked incoming probes, whether or not it's from the recon, suspicious IPs, the RDP probes. The ironic thing here is how many of those flags are U.S. The amount of U.S. infrastructure continuing to be used to attack small businesses is only escalating.
Before you move on, Ben, move back to that slide again. I tell us to a lot of folks that will listen to that, if you got one thing you want to show a customer about what the Calyptix is doing for them, this is a great page to pull up and try to give them an idea of what we're doing. Between the if you look at the types, you've got Community Shield drops. If you'll scan down, Ben, you'll see others as well. There'll be firewall drops and IPS drops and geofence drops and external threat feed drops. And it'll help them understand what we're doing for the site. We'll clean up all that bad traffic. And it's so this network filtering is really effective on the alerts now. You can choose to look at just the IDS, IPS, or firewall alerts, or the geofence, or the threat feeds, or community shields, or you can look at all of them. You can look at only the in or out, and you can extract these in a CSV. And if you really want to drive home the point, it's pretty easy to do. And that's what this next page is that single site, and it's looking at the introduction of the recon feed that we did just recently. You'll notice it was in October that we introduced that. So the red activity, or the blocked events at a single site from the reconnaissance feed, where you'll normally see sort of in the 10 to 12 events per day before we introduce the feed, you'll see by leveraging that threat intel, we're now stopping in hundreds of attacks every day. And again, that's a real attack. They're trying to identify the systems that you run, whether or not you've got exposed SSH or a login or a 443, whatever might be, a VPN. We know about all the vulnerabilities that are popping up in VPNs. So if we can keep them from doing the recon on your clients, that again makes it harder for them to attack you. And so this is, again, just one site, and it shows the extension of that intelligence in defending the site. Additionally, those are all alerts that could have been in map scans or vicious scans that would have generated a lot of extra data, would have also taken up snort resources on the box. So by using the community intelligence, we get a more efficient system, and those inbound community shield alerts can really just be ignored. So we eliminate all that noise. And in terms of where they're coming from, again, you'll see the lion's share of these recons are coming from the U.S., but they're really coming from all over. And so this is a benefit that's
beyond the geofence, but it just shows the geographic nature, but again, the increased effort coming out of the U.S. If you look at the broader Community Shield on this one site, from the end of August to the early November, you'll see over 5,000 IPs hit over 23,000 ports 88,000 times. All that is noise that disappears because you could just ignore it. And so the benefit of that is significant. And that doesn't even reflect the super scanners and the known scanners that we're now actually dropping. So I think for a period of time, we recorded the super scanners, but the volume of events there got so large, we've elected to just drop that from the data so that it eliminates that extra noise and processing on your systems. Gatekeeper, zero trust. Need I say more? It's where the government's going. NSA is recommending it. The government is requiring it. NIST 800-207 is a standard for the framework. It talks a lot about leveraging session level access control, which means a single live connection with least privilege access. We're separating the identity of the user from anything else, and then you're letting them hit a specific service. Very powerful tool. A couple new things. The Event Vault, which is not new to us, but it's really new from a service offering. So we're committing to provide you our Event Vault and access to it on request. What is it? It's a 365-day event archive for compliance, contracts, and best practices. It includes your access enforcer system alerts, network alerts, traffic alerts, and security events. It's resilient in terms of the way the system is generated. It's not UDP traffic. It's TCP compressed, handshake driven with resilient connections. So that means if your network goes down for an hour, your log data is still batched, compressed, and delivered. I think our retention on the resilience is 3 days, but we'll have some documentation so that you'll be able to check the box when it comes to compliance without doing anything. So we also enrich those logs with GeoIP, reputation, ASN data, and more, so that if you have to pull them, you've got that at that time enhanced data to analyze. These logs are not available at any time. They are in a secure access control platform by virtue of the NIST best practice guidelines. I've extracted here the NIST 853 guidelines for best practices for audit and accountability. And there are quite a number of these, and they talk about non-repudiable logs, hold them off site, control access, monitor that if that system goes down. And we're pushing these logs into a highly secure, highly available platform that takes care of this. No problem. So the second half of that is the connection monitor. So that is a system that we've used and we've had on the boxes for a long time. But that is essentially a 5-minute sampling of live connections and the ARP table every 5 minutes. And so it is a very legitimate process to do monitoring and archiving. To do full-blown net flow, every live connection logs is voluminous, expensive, and consumes a great deal of bandwidth. By keeping these local and on the box, it's highly efficient, highly affordable, and doesn't interfere with your bandwidth or your processing capability. Now, there are limits in the sense that there are only 30 days is what's retained on the unit, and those are rotating logs. Again, if you need more, that may be something we can consider, but for now, we believe that meets the requirements for the small business clientele we work with. Now, both of these sets of logs are available on your request. We'll have more information about that as we come up, but in order to provide you these services effectively, efficiently, and affordably, we think this is the right path. Now you can satisfy your contracts, your audit requirements, and check the box on best practices.
Good stuff.
What else do we have coming? So this is something we really have been working on hard to provide efficient traffic alerts. And what we're doing is leveraging the Community Shield and the threat feeds to notify you of either malicious or suspicious network activity. This is activity for outbound traffic. This is when the bad guy's trying to complete an exploit, trying to extract data, or trying to connect to command and control systems. And what does that look like? This is not vaporware. We've been sending these to a few people and getting feedback. And what this is a representative alert by PDF that we are emailing that provides the account name, which is the partner, the organization, the end customer as put in the unit, the primary contact, network site contact. Then we also have a support contact for the account that can receive these notifications.
And these are once a day?
These go out once a day. That's right.
But only once a day.
That's right. So the goal here is to provide you a consolidated notification when you need it, if you need it. So you only get this if you need it. And you'll notice here we've identified the source IP, the reason that the traffic was blocked based on the threat feed or the Community Shield threat feed, the destination IP and the port, the nature of the traffic, TCP or EDP, and the ASN organization, which can also often be helpful in determining if it's really good or bad. Mm-hmm. The destination country based on the GeoIP lookup. When we first saw it, we last saw it, and then the number of times we saw it, as well as the time between the first and last. So you'll notice here that most of these events were really instantaneous, whereas the one connection down to the 4040 IP occurred sort of looks like on a 5-hour basis. But this one notification covers 24-hour period and 40 events. We have seen this cover as many as 250,000 events to 25 or more destination IPs. So it can consolidate a lot of information. In addition to the actual event data, we're supplementing this with third-party threat intelligence. Currently, we have 3 sources: Abuse IP Database, Alien Vault, and Pulse Dive. And our analyst, India, has put this artfully together, and it's a lot of information. And we have another document that's shared with this to help you translate all the information here. But essentially, the more reports or the more pulses, then the more likelihood that this is a bad IP and you need to investigate. So let's review real quick. This is what we're doing with our offering. We're providing you the subscription, the updates, the live support. We've introduced the Shield, external feeds, dynamic DNS, Event Vault, and Monitor. We've got Gatekeeper, and we're going to be delivering Community Shield notifications as well. So we decided to split these up in subscriptions, standard and premium. Nothing new there, but I think you'll be happy with our approach. Everything's included, even Gatekeeper, in your standard plan, up to 5 users. If you want to expand Gatekeeper, then we ask that you pick up a premium plan for a nominal additional fee, which we think is a reasonable return on our 3-year investment in building Gatekeeper and our ongoing maintenance and improvements.
So every unit in the field that's on 503 can now use Gatekeeper with no additional cost with up to 5 remote users?
That's right. So this is when the business people get a little ahead of the developers. The GUI currently only allows for the premium plan, but we do monitor based on the number of invited users. So for those of you that want to use it, you use it up to 5, no added charge. You could start using it today, and that's totally fine. And so we'll keep track. We will be offering, we'll be adding some functionality there that'll separate the standard plan and the premium Gatekeeper plan. But we are doing this for a reason. We want people to use Gatekeeper. We built it. It's very effective. It aligns with the best practices and the guidance of the NSA and the CISA and NIST. And we want to drive usage so we can make it better and you guys can have more secure clients.
And just because it's included in the GUI now doesn't mean you can't charge your client for it.
No, that's right. We have some partners that have said that they charge a setup. I think they charge a setup for the Gatekeeper. They do a little consulting with each user, And so they can get a hour setup charge per client, so they know how to use it. It's easy, and they can kind of go over, and they have a much better implementation and user experience.
I think also if you have a site that goes beyond 5 users, it'll be easy to justify the premium plan. It's just a few dollars more per month. So it's not going to be a huge whack.
We'll get to the prices in a little bit. That's the bait. We're keeping them around. So there was one other thing, though, I talked about, and that was notifications. So we struggled on this one. And so we said, certainly we'll include it in the premium plan. But here's where we're going to make a give. We're going to include it in the standard plan, no charge. But let's go back to our core tenets. We're going to expect partners to respond and be accountable for investigating these matters and sharing the feedback on the outcomes. Because in the absence of that feedback circle, we can't make it better. And you can't work together as a community to secure each other. And so we think that's really important, that these notifications are available and that you also take action.
So we're really hoping to get feedback on every one of these so that we'll know how we go forward.
That's right. So let's revisit what we've done. So we've given you a tool to shrink your network attack surface. We've implemented zero trust network access for you. You can design and secure a network. You can design and implement a secure network configuration for your clients on something that's maintained and updated and enhanced. You can ensure that there's a 365-day secure off-site event archive with 30-day sampling of connections and ARP logs for forensics. You're going to leverage shared threat intelligence for enhanced defense. You're going to have malicious traffic detected and prevented. And you're going to get network traffic monitoring and notifications, all in your plans. Both plan, standard and premium. Now, why would we do that? Our purpose is implementing this system. I think it's important that you understand we are not venture capital driven crowd trying to tweak the latest, gimmick for more dollars. We're building a shared utility service for network security. And we think it's the right way to go. It's what a lawyer, a professor, and a PhD developer, they came up with it. I'm just trying to help them get it into play. But it's what our purpose is. And so when you strip it all apart, when you compare what we're offering you and delivering for you, again, you can look at the price or you can look at the value. And look how it's just starkly different, both technically, business-wise, and what it offers for your customers. So this is where we go back to our three-legged stool, how we work together. So we have our subscription plan. That's going to empower you to expand your services. It should significantly. Be more comfortable with what you're offering, meeting the needs without imposing vulnerabilities for your clients. We all know that the NSA and CISA have announced the concerns they have about MSPs. And we believe that the tools that we're providing you significantly align with the best practices that the government is calling towards. So not only can you expand your services, we think you can expand your customer base. And that leads to the third piece for us is the professional services. That's where we as an organization have to be able to respond and help and scale in a manner that's economical for you, your clients, and us. Professional services are not the same as support services. Professional services are hard to pay for when you don't need them. $200 a month monitoring fees without having any events.
Seems like a hollow spend, doesn't it?
It does. A $200 professional service fee to help you figure out what happened and how to stop it and improve it. We think that's the right model for our market and our community.
So there's no charge unless you need the services?
That's right. I mean, the idea is that we're going to send you the notifications and we want you to act on them. We want you to give us feedback. And if you need help, then we're making available professional services. With that, our lead analyst, her name is India Thomas. She's a master's graduate at Georgia Tech cybersecurity program. She has multiple certifications. She's well trained on the Windows side. She has been building our threat feeds and analyzing what's going on there. She is eager to help. If you get one of these notifications, please reach out to us. We would like to help you investigate it. At some point, we need to charge for those services. Right now, up until January, there's no charge. So in terms of roadmap, I would say, the first thing that we've got coming out of the gate are these notifications. And the first thing in order for us to make those happen is to get an email address to send them to you. So we'll be sending out to the primary contacts of every account an email and asking you to specify how you would like those notifications to go. And you have three options. You could send for every site, you can send notifications to the primary contact, which is you. I'm guessing most of you guys don't want that. You can also specify what we call a support or not contact. And we could send notifications for all your sites to that one email. And then the third approach is a network site contact. So for each network site that you manage, where you have an access enforcer, you can add a unique email address and contact for that site. So if you want to notify the owner that they've got an incident, that you're going to have to incur an incident charge because maybe it's outside of the normal MSP offering, which I would highly recommend you think about. I go back to that added service of an incident response plan and an incident response fee. If the clients run tight, they probably shouldn't have any. If they run loose, they're probably going to have some. And this is where aligning your cost to what you offer, you guys know how to do that. And I think, that network site notification is a way to tip off the end customer that, hey, you've got to look at something and it's serious and it's going to cost them some money, or it's included, however you want to set that up. But that's up for you guys. But that is a way to expand the notifications so they know what you're doing. Again, there are two types of notifications coming out: malicious or suspicious. So we're mapping the different threat feeds to those two different categories. The next thing we're working on is multi-factor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of folks have been asking about it.
What's that? Multi-factor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got that in test mode at several sites, and that's the next thing on the docket is rolling out multi-factor for the GUI, for your access enforcer, for the VPN, Calyptix VPN, as well as SSH access. So while we could do it for VPN, it didn't make sense to do it for some, but not all. So there are different considerations for those. So the tech team is finishing that up, and we'll have more announcements on that coming soon. The next thing is enhanced Community Shield feeds. So we have a lot more insights and information we can glean from what we're seeing. And so we'll be working on those added threat feeds, and we'll keep you posted on those. Some of those feeds might be like, highly suspicious or noisy foreign addresses and things like that. Or I think web server attacks. There's some other IDS, IPS events that we see that make for good feeds. And then we're gonna implement some GUI implementation around Community Shield so that you could see it, manage it, implement it a little tighter how you want to, and make some improvements in the process there. We have another feature in store called ASN Fence. I think as you start to see the data, like I've been looking at over the years, you'll notice that there are some ISPs or cloud providers that are, shall we say, less reputable, and they host a lot of bad stuff. So while you may not be able to block all US inbound traffic, you might be able to block certain ISPs or cloud providers, and we'll have some guidance and recommendations on that. And our purpose there is to use that tool to continue to enhance the Community Shield, because if we can get more intelligence about the infrastructure that's being used at the bad ISPs, like, DigitalOcean or OVH or OOO, or there's a Tencent China, some telecom, I think, that maintains a U.S. So there are a number of those that just, if they shouldn't be connecting inbound to your networks, you can block them. And so that'll be set up similar to the geofence. It'll be pretty easy, and we can give you some recommendations. And then the last major item that we're working on there is the central management console. And, that's a big one. That's not new. It builds off of an embedded API that is in each access enforcer. And we'll be providing secure access to that API. So we're not leveraging SNMP or other, established protocols. We're implementing a highly secure implementation to connect to the box, to make sure the user's got access to only his boxes, and then that they can only change what they're authorized to change. And so there's a lot of complexity in that, but it allows us to scale and also get more aggressive with the community shield data feeds. So
just to be clear, that would allow you to make the change on as many units as you select one time instead of individually.
That's correct.
Wow, that'd be a big time saver.
It would be. It's not a simple ask in the pieces that have to be. I hope folks appreciate, given the increased security concerns about cloud services and unauthorized access, that's got to be done right, with minimal privilege and minimal exposure. So that's sort of the piece there. So we've got a couple other announcements that we want to hit. Number one is our technical training session that Dwayne and Warren will lead. We haven't yet specified a date, but it will cover implementation of VLANs, why to VLAN, how to VLAN, how you can create enhanced security and microsegmentation with VLANs, how you can create 4,084 VLANs with separate DHCP servers if you really wanted to, but I don't think you do. But so that'll be there. And then the other piece is the nitty gritty on what I've gone over today is in the portal. And there's the link for it. So we'll send out a link following this with access to that. And also if you have questions or need additional information. So we do have some questions. Just one note from Des. Thanks for the dynamic DNS. Very helpful. We're glad we could do that. So that's accessible in your single pane of glass server, SPS. I think that information for each site is there and available now. So even though it's not 2022, you can still get access to the
That's a good point,
dynamic DNS.
If you're on 503, all these features are ready. That's
correct. One question from Graham: can't we just add RAM to a unit? I wish it were so simple. The manufacturers cut these slots kind of funny. And so we have to match up the RAM and the type of RAM very carefully. So it technically voids your warranty, and it's not recommended. If you have unique RAM needs that want to talk to our team, certainly willing to be economical and supportive there. So just let us know. Well, then I'm going to stop the recording, and we very much appreciate you guys taking your time today. We may have run a little over. I apologize. We will record this. We'll send out a link to the recording as well as a link to the written details on the program. If you have questions about the new functionality and services, particularly around the archive and the connection monitoring logs that can help you satisfy those audit and auditability requirements, let us know. And we're looking forward to a really exciting 2022, and appreciate your continued support and feedback.
Thanks again.